Say, I mean, as I said, this is the first session as part of the schema, but today we'll be learning on some of the administrative activities because to get started with schema, so we need to understand some basic administrative task as well. So why that admin task are required means, so if you remember this one, right? So during the starting session of MicroStrategy, right? So our second day, we discussed on this particular architecture wherein, so to work on any say project, right? So basically you require this developer as an interface wherein you develop your reports, you execute your reports using the developer interface. And apart from that, you need to have metadata. Metadata is a repository which stores all object definitions. So, and then you need to have one connection from your developer to your data warehouse. So this is what we discussed yesterday. To work on a simple project, right? So you need to have three components. One is developer component, the other one is metadata component, the other one is data warehouse component. And from your developer to metadata and from developer to data warehouse, you will have which connection means you will have ODBC connection. Similarly, we discussed 3-tier means you do have additional iServer, 4-tier means you do have additional web server. So whenever, I mean, say as part of, I mean, let me take like say when you work on real-time project, so everything will be, I mean, established for you. All this configuration, everything will be done by your admin. So there will be a server admin team, so or like MicroStrategy admin. So under them, there will be again a server admin who does all this particular connection establishment, everything. And you generally start building up the objects. But here for us, what we'll do is we'll do that admin stuff also. So under that specific thing, so just try to understand here. So what we'll do is we'll create up a two-tier architecture, and in the two-tier architecture, so there are three components. So one is MicroStrategy developer. So this MicroStrategy developer, right? So what you'll have basically is, so you need to, oh God, thanks, like, I mean, you didn't ping me after the session. Okay, so now you could see my screen. Okay, fine. So basically now this is what, like say 2-tier, then 3-tier, and then 4-tier connection. You do have all type of connection, right? So in this particular connection, so what I want saying is, so in case of 2-tier, you will have developer, you will have metadata, you do have data warehouse. So in case of 3-tier, you have same developer, metadata warehouse, and additional iServer. And in case of 4-tier, you have web server as an additional component. So the point I want to say here is, so we want to build a two-tier connection. So we are going to create this connection now practically. So to do this one, from metadata to your developer, there should be a physical connection, that is ODBC connection. Same the case you need to have with your warehouse to your developer. So these are the two connections you require. And how many components there are there? One is developer, metadata, and data warehouse. Total, we do have three components. So total we have three different components as part of MicroStrategy architecture. So we have three components: developer, metadata, and then we have data warehouse. So now once you have these three components, right? So now you use this component, MicroStrategy developer component. So how do you get it? Then how do metadata comes, or how does data warehouse comes is, so data warehouse, as I said in my previous session, it is done by the database team. So you do have separate database team who is going to define the data warehouse, and for this particular data warehouse they are going to create a DSN or ODBC connection, and they give that connection, and you need to use that connection and establish a link between your developer tool to data warehouse. So again, just I repeat this one. So you'll have a database team who is going to create your data warehouse, and to this data warehouse they are going to create a DSN connection, and that DSN connection they are going to share with us, that is MicroStrategy team. So we use that DSN connection name and establish link between your MicroStrategy developer to data warehouse. Right. So this is not our part. DSN will be given and we have to establish link. That linking is our responsibility. But this metadata, your MicroStrategy metadata, as an admin, you have to create this metadata, and in this particular metadata you have to load some sample tables, and this sample tables gets loaded whenever you create some object. So just try to understand. So at first, when you create your metadata, this metadata, right, it will be blank. So what you do is, in this metadata you are going to load sample tables. You are going to load sample tables. Sample means the default tables. I'll show you how to load that default tables. So once you load that default tables, all the tables will be empty. In the first instance, all your metadata tables will be empty. So when that metadata tables will be filled means, so in your MicroStrategy developer tool, right. So what we do, we can have an option to create public object, to create schema object, to create configuration objects in the developer. So whenever you create any type of object, that object is going to come and store in the metadata. It is going to come and store in the metadata. So this metadata we have to create, and we have to load sample tables, and then we keep as it is. And whenever as a developer you try to create different objects in the MicroStrategy developer tool, be it configuration, be it schema, be it public, that object definition will be automatically stored into the metadata. Hence this metadata is called as system database. It is called system database. So whenever you create any object, that object definition will store in metadata, will store in the metadata. Right. So then how do you get this interface? Okay, this is a database which is created by DB team. This is a database which is created by MSTR admin. Fine. But how do you get this interface basically is, so you need to have MicroStrategy developer interface. So to get this particular interface, you need to take license from MicroStrategy company. So with MicroStrategy company, you take that, okay, we require developer license for 100 users. We require developer license for 1000 users. Based on how big your project is, you are going to take this particular MicroStrategy developer. And what they do basically is, they will give a key assigned to it. So MicroStrategy vendor for your company, they will give a key, and that key can be used in this many machines. It can be used in this many machines. So use that particular key, and then you install, like during the starting phase, once you install MicroStrategy in your machine, on a similar lines, you install, you go to MicroStrategy, website, and from there you can install, or they'll be giving you an exe file. You can use that particular exe file to install this particular MicroStrategy. So once you install MicroStrategy, right, so in case of basically three-tier connection, so apart from this developer, you need to have this server also. You need to create the server connection as well. But when it comes to this web server, so when you take one license, and to that license itself, this web server will come automatically. When you have an iServer, right, automatically by default you will have this particular web server also embedded. Right, so this is how you get it. But now we'll see how to create this particular connections, data warehouse, metadata, and MicroStrategy developer. Between this, how the connection is there. So today class is to complete this, and tomorrow we'll start how to bring tables from data warehouse into developer, and after bringing that, what are things we can do. Right, so this is what we are going to see tomorrow. Just a minute, guys. Yeah. Hello. Right. So we'll just try to, do now the practical stuff here. So first thing, let's take about the warehouse, and from there we move on to the next step and so on. So once, say for example, data warehouse, right? So just try to understand. These are key things. Everyone has to understand this. So wants to work basically, right? So just try to understand here. So you do have, say for example, data warehouse as one component, and then you do have metadata as another component, and MicroStrategy developer as another component. So here, this data warehouse, whatever we have in our tutorial version means, so we have MS Access Database. So where is this MS Access Database means? So generally, when I just go to, say your folder, then you install in your local machine, right? So generally you just go to program files. So in the program files you do have MicroStrategy folder. So once you go to MicroStrategy folder, so in the MicroStrategy folder, so basically you have different folders. All these folders you will get once you install MicroStrategy in your machine, out of which you do have a tutorial reporting folder. So just go to the tutorial reporting folder. In the tutorial reporting folder, say you do have this option, tutorial data 7200. So just open this particular metadata, sorry, data warehouse, the database, just open it, and now this is what all the tables will be created by your DB team. So your database team is going to create all these particular tables and the corresponding data as well. Okay, what should be the ID, then name, all these things, right? So everything will be there, right? So if you look at this specific thing, you could see everything is listed there. So all this particular data, right, is created, or like the table is created, the data is inserted. So all this particular thing is done by your DB team. So you're not bothered about this particular database. So whose responsibility is this? Basically, who are responsible for this? So this is a responsibility of a DB team. So the DB team is going to create this one, right? And here we have option as Microsoft Access, or else in real time you may use Oracle, you may use say Teradata, you may use SQL Server, you may use Netezza or whatnot. Like you can use any database as your data warehouse based on your client requirements. So the client will come up with some database which suits them, and based on that he is going to choose the database. And the way here, so generally they may, if someone asks you a question, so where is your database and so on, don't tell them in under like, so it is your local machine you have installed, so you could see here your database. But in real time, right, so where you have this particular Oracle, where you have Teradata and so on, right, basically they will be on a server, there will be on server. So these all databases will be on the server, and to connect to that server they are going to give you an IP address, port number, user ID, you need to have password. So based on that you can connect to the database. You can connect to the database by having the IP address of the server. So if someone asks you in a interview, how do you connect to database or how do you connect to data warehouse? So you need to, tell them that. So where it will be there, it will be on a server. So so we'll have the server details or the IP address of the server, and then we will have the port number. Then using the user ID and password, we just log into the database. Right. So this is a separate thing. So this is done, assume. So now we move on to this one, metadata. How to create metadata, all these things we'll see it. So now basically, so this metadata also can be on any database like Microsoft Access, Oracle, Teradata. But this data warehouse will be very, very big size. It will be in terabytes and so on. And this specific thing will be in MBs and GBs. It will be in GBs maximum. And this will be in terabytes or petabytes, so your data warehouse. So when it comes to metadata, so in order to create metadata, again in real time, the metadata also is going to be present in the server. But we are doing here in our local machine, as we don't have any server. So we are just creating this metadata in our local machine. So what I'm doing is I'm just using some folder here. Say I just go to my, say for example, C drive, and then I create some folder here. So this is, say for example, I'm creating it for sample metadata. I want to create some metadata, for which what I am doing is, already in my machine I do have Microsoft Access database here. So just select this one. So once you select this one, so just name it. So I am providing something demo metadata. Okay, so this is the, as we have a database called Access database, I'm using this Access database. I'm using the Access database in order to create metadata. In order to create metadata, I've used this option. Like the type is Microsoft Access. Fine. So now when I open this particular thing, so it is just like a new folder or a new notepad which is blank actually, which is empty. You don't find anything specified here actually. So now basically you want something to have in this specific thing, right? So how to load that tables, all these things we will send. So this is the first step. You create a sample metadata, and once you do it, what is the next step you need to do is, so try to focus here. From here it's important, few steps, like a sequence of steps we need to follow. So what I'm doing is I'm just going into some option called as configuration wizard. So there is something called configuration wizard, and then you do have another option called as connectivity wizard. So in MSTR, so you do have two things. One is configuration wizard, the other one is a connectivity wizard. So two things. First, what is the first thing you require is, so you need to load the tables. You need to have the default tables into here. But before you have default tables into your metadata, first thing, there should be a connection. There should be a connection to your metadata. There should be a connection to your metadata. And that connection like is an ODBC connection. And how do we establish that? Means using the connectivity wizard. So what is the first step? What we have done basically under the metadata is, first thing, so you need to go to any drive and then you need to create a new DB. New, here I say for our example, what is that we have created? So we have created Access database. So once you have created this, the second step you need to do is you need to establish a DSN or an ODBC connection. So you need to create up a DSN or ODBC connection. So once you establish this particular connection, the third step is, once you have this connection only, what you can do is you can load default metadata tables. You can load the default metadata tables. So we'll just created the step one, that is new access database. So we'll just try to do the second and then the third one. So in order to do the second step, so what is we require basically is we require connectivity wizard. So that is again a tool in MSTR, so using which we do that connection. And the next one basically we require for this one is configuration wizard. So what is that we need to do is, you need to go to start and then search for this particular tool. So this is also tool you get when you install MicroStrategy. By default this tools comes in. So I'll just show you. I just go to my start, then click on here. So first thing what I need to do is I need to establish a connection, for which I'm just getting into connectivity wizard. So now if you look at this one, MicroStrategy connectivity wizard has been opened. And in this particular connectivity wizard, so just only the thing is, simply you need to click on next. And once you click on next, it shows here various options here. So which type of database is yours, whether it is a DB2, whether it is a Greenplum, Informix, Impala, MySQL, Oracle, Postgre, Salesforce, Sybase, and so on. So it shows up all the list of the databases here. From which, right? So if you look at ours is a Microsoft Office. So if ours is from here, right? So we just pick anyone from here. But as ours is not listed here, any of this doesn't fit our, so you need to just go into the last option, that is other relational databases, because ours is not mentioned here. So I'm just switching on to other relational databases. So once you go to other relational databases, so here it shows up different databases here. So out of which I'm just choosing this one, Microsoft Access Driver. So this is Access DB. If you look at this one, ACCDB extension, right? Microsoft Access Database. So you need to choose this particular option, Microsoft Access Driver and then Access Database. And for this one, right, so I'll just upload this video as well, so you can just go through step-by-step process and then work out today. So immediately after the class I'll do that. So just go to Microsoft Access Driver, Access DB, and then just simply click on next. So once you click on next, then it asks you, just look at this one. So what is the name you want? Okay, it is creating up a connection now, but to that connection, what is the name you need to give? Okay, I need to give, say, demo metadata DSN. This is my name I'm giving to it. And this name should be given for which database? That database you need to browse here. If you look at this database here, you do have an option called select. So just simply click on select and then just navigate to where you have your database. So where did we place basically our database? So just you need to go there and then basically you need to search for your database. Okay, so this is what we have created, demo metadata. So I've just chosen that specific thing and then click OK. So now here you need to choose your database and here you need to provide the name. So a lot of people do a mistake as they don't choose database. So then they cannot continue in the third step. So you need to choose provide name. It is up to you. It is a user defined name. You can provide anything you want. So generally in real time we just do based on the database like Oracle DSN, SQL Server, Teradata based on your database here. So you provide that name and the database name you need to choose a path. So once you are done, then simply click at the top here OK. So once you click, so it tells you the data source name created successfully. Click OK. So now basically what happened is to this particular database, whatever we have here, right, a connection has been established. That's it. So nothing apart from that, just a connection has been established. So even now you open, you see completely blank. So now I'm just switching on to my third step. So we are done with the second step. So I'm just moving on to third step. So where should I go? I need to go to configuration wizard. Then I need to see an option to populate the metadata tables. So how to do that one? So it is also simple option. So just try to see now. So I'm just getting to configuration wizard. So just type in that configuration wizard and then click OK. Then similarly you get an editor. From the start just go for that option. So then again it open up a editor similar to connectivity wizard. Okay, if you look at this one, here again an editor opens, configuration wizard. So in the configuration wizard, so you see a different options here, project source, that will come next. But if you look at the first option, which is checked by default, create metadata, history list and statistics repository tables. So now this is an option we require because we want to also create metadata tables, and click on next. So you want any statistical analysis, you need to have this history list and stats. So I want only metadata tables. So just check that metadata tables and then click on next. So once you do that one, then it will ask you, look at this one. So to load tables into metadata, you don't give this file name. So instead, you need to give the DSN used for this particular metadata. For which, right? So the DSN which we have used for this particular metadata is demo MD, right? So just go there and choose your one. Demo metadata DSN. So just provide that, and then once you give in, simple options is you need to click on next, next, that's it. So only the thing, again I just come back. So once you come to configuration wizard, you need to go to create metadata tables, click on next. If you want any historical analysis, you need to select this. If not, select only metadata, click on next. Then choose the DSN of your metadata. DSN of your metadata. So once you choose the DSN of metadata, click on next. So it tells during that process there will be a lock. Yes, it's fine. And then click on finish. Now just look at this one. It is checking the configuration. It is creating access metadata, creating metadata defaults and configuring the tables. So as we have chosen the source as metadata, for that particular access database, whatever default tables will be there, all that default tables will be loaded now. During this process, it is going to load the tables into your database. So once it is done, it shows a status as completed. Okay, so now if you look at this particular option here, the status you can see as completed. I just click on close and then I click on exit. So now if you look at the size of the file, so it has been increased. So from that specific thing, right, just try to focus here now. I just open this and now look at this towards the left hand side of you. There are different tables that has been populated. You just select this table. You select multiple tables here. So most of the tables will be blank. Most of the tables will be blank. The reason is what we have done basically is we have created a metadata. But what I said is to this metadata, you will get the object definition once you create in the developer different tables. So once you create different, once you create basically different tables, or say different table, be it public, be it schema configuration in the developer, at that phase all your tables will be filled. So when your tables in your metadata gets filled means, so whenever you create objects in MicroStrategy, all these tables will be filled by default. So before we move further, so any question on this one? So first, I said this is already done by your DB team, and this you have to do as a MSTR admin, and we have learned this particular 3 steps now. How to create a new access database. This simple right click new access database, and this is the next one, and this is the next one. So any question on this particular 3 steps? Okay, perfect, good. So once you are comfortable till this point, while saving DSN file name, should we have any extension as DSN? That is not required. So only it is for our understanding or our naming convention. So that is a user defined name. So whatever name you want, you can just have it. So it is not required to have the DSN at last. Okay, so now moving further basically. So now moving further, so we need to have, say for example, you already have this developer assume for an example. So once you have this developer, so you install MicroStrategy and then you get this particular developer tool. But in this particular developer tool, so what is that we require is, so just try to focus here. I just open this administrator, just log in. So what we require is just look at this one. This is one project source. There is another project source. So for real time, right? Once you take, this is a tutorial version of, MicroStrategy, you install, you get this one. But basically you take a licensed one. So you don't see any project source here. So you open developer, everything will be blank here. So now we have to create a project source. Under project source, we have to create a project, and to that project, we have to create all the objects. So how is that particular step done? We are going to see now. So what is our next step means? Our next step is to create a project source. So you'll have this MicroStrategy developer as it is. So in the MicroStrategy developer, so what is that we need to do is we need to create a new project source. So once we create a new project source, we need to create project. And once you create a project, so you need to have basically say database instance also. So you need to create a database instance to relate your project to certain database. You need to have a database instance. Means using this, you are going to link this one. Okay, if you looked at MicroStrategy architecture, there was relation from MicroStrategy developer to metadata and then MicroStrategy developer to data warehouse. Yes or no? So if you remember that architecture, so developer to metadata there were connection. From developer to data warehouse there was connection. Agree? Yes or no? Okay. So now we'll see now how there is a connection between developer to metadata and from a developer to data warehouse. So we'll just try to understand that point. So now just try to see again to create a project source. To create a project source, just now we have seen an option, right? So what is that option we have seen? Which one we have used to load the default metadata tables? The same tool actually, the same configuration wizard is going to help us in building up a project source. Is going to help up in a building a project source. Again, I'm just getting to the same panel. So just I'm getting to say for example, I just type in configuration wizard. So just open that configuration wizard. So we went into first option for the metadata tables. So what I am doing is instead of first option, I am switching into the third option. So if you look at the third option here, this you have an option called as create a project source. I want to create a new project source to build my own projects. So I have created this project source. Click on next. So once you click on next, it asks you what is your project source. I just provide some name, say demo project 1, and then whether it should be 2-tier or whether it should be 3-tier. Already I have server connection, so I'm just creating up a 2-tier connection here. So demo project 1, and similarly you want to create a number of projects, we can just do it. Okay, sorry, this is not project, this is my project source. So I'm just short, I'm providing demo project source 1. So once I do it, I just click on next. Then if you look at this one, please select the data source name to use to connect to metadata repository. To create another one, click new. So what it tells is if you already have a metadata, then choose that one here. If you don't have any, you can click on new and create a new metadata repository. Fine. So but already we have one metadata Right. So that particular metadata, what we do basically is, so between your developer, you're creating, in the developer, you are creating a project source. But this project source where you have in the developer. So while creating a project source, what it is asking you in the configuration wizard, while creating a project source, what it is asking you, it is asking you to point the metadata. Once you are selecting a metadata, what it is doing is it is establishing a link between your developer tool and metadata. This point is important. So just try to see. So while creating your project source, you are establishing a link with the metadata, with the metadata. So this is what, just try to see, you're trying to create up a project source creation and it is asking you to browse a metadata. So selecting correct metadata is going to establish link between your project source and metadata, project source and metadata. So that one connection is set here only. So once you do it, click on next. Which login you want, network login, guest login, LDAP authentication, and so on. So the standard authentication is administrator and blanks. So whatever we were using, right, that is a standard authentication. I'm just using the standard authentication. Click on next, click on finish. So now if you look at this one, configuring a new project source, creating a new project source, saving the new project source. So it has configured, it has created, and then it has saved it. So the status you look as completed. So now where you see your project source basically, right? So I'm just getting to there. Go to your developer tool. In the developer tool, just click on OK. So once you do it, just look at this specific thing. Demo PS1 is newly created by you. As we have used standard authentication, so just type in that particular user ID as administrator, password as blank. So once you open it, you see only administration option under this. You don't see any project source. Sorry, you don't see any projects. This is a project source. Under this project source, you see only admin. You don't see any project. The reason is we haven't built any as of now. There is a new project source. Fine, perfect. So what we have done basically is we have created a project source and using which one? Using the configuration wizard. But while creating the project source, what is that it has done, or what we have done is basically is we have established what? Relationship between your metadata and your MSTR project source, MicroStrategy project source. So what we have done, we have established a relationship between metadata and MicroStrategy project source, right? Perfect. So now basically, and now just try to understand, this is a key point here, everyone, very important. So under one project source, assume I have created some demo project source, right? Demo PS1. So under this project source 1, can I create only one project or I can build multiple project? What is your assumption? So I can create only one project or I can create, say, for example, a multiple projects as such. So you can create n number of projects under one project source. Under one project source, you can create n number of projects, be it 10, 15 based on how much configuration you have in your server. So you can create multiple. Alright, good. So now basically just try to see, understand my question. For your project, you have linked to metadata, or for your project source, you have linked to metadata. So in my project source, I have 10 projects. So while creating a project source, did I link metadata, or while I created a project, did I link metadata? That you'll understand in a minute. I'm trying to create up a project. Just try to see how do I create a project. Simply you need to right click here and then you get an option called create project. This is one way, or else select your project source At the top, get to schema menu. You get the same option here, create new project. So the window is same, the option is different. I mean, you switch from here, go to this option, or you come here, go to this option. Both are same only. There is no different windows that comes up. You select here, you select here. Both the cases you get the same window only. The option you can switch from here or else you can create from here. There are two ways. You can choose your own way. So if you look at this one, you get a wizard called as PCA in short, or like project creation wizard. So this particular PCA wizard has different options here. Create a project. I just click on this, create a project. So what project you want to create? So I want to create a project, say demo project 1. So I've created this demo project 1. So you want to have any description, any functional knowledge. Okay, this project is for XYZ reason. You just provide that name only for information purpose. Just click OK. So it takes some time and then it creates a project. Okay, now if you look at this particular thing, so it has been created, right? So once it got created, so just simply click on OK. Fine. So now you see a project has been created. Similarly, you can create like this multiple projects. So let me create another one. So in this way, you can create n number of projects. So I just created up a project 2. Click OK. Okay, so it has created up a second project as well. Okay, so now like while creating a project, right? So did we use any metadata connection? So while creating a project, did we use any metadata, that demo metadata DSN, right? So did we use it or we haven't used that? So no, we haven't used that, right? Yep. So basically, just try to understand here. Now the key thing is, so while creating a project source, what you have done basically is, so while creating a project source, you have used the metadata. You have used the metadata. But while creating projects, there is no metadata. So what does that mean? Basically is the point here, important point is, so in one project source, you can have multiple projects. Project 1, project 2, project 10. For all these particular projects, it is going to use a single metadata, a single metadata. So for all the projects in the project source, the metadata will be single one. So hence we say in MicroStrategy it uses a centralized metadata. It is a centralized metadata. What does that word centralized metadata means? So all the projects in the project source will be using a single metadata. So it is going to identify based on every project. So you just right click. Okay, so you just go to any specific project, right? So you just open it. So you just right click. So I just go to, one second, duplicate. So I just go to this project definition. If you look at this one, there is an ID like this. It is in hexadecimal format. So it takes this ID, and based on that ID, your metadata is going to identify whether this object belongs to first project, so or it belongs to the second project. So every project will have a unique object ID. So just go there. So this one is 90A. Just try to see, and you go here. You look here, D4C. So every project in the project source will have a unique ID, and based on that unique ID, your metadata is going to store all your project definitions. So in MicroStrategy, it is a centralized metadata. What does centralized metadata means? It stores objects of all the projects into a single metadata, Okay, fine. So creation of project was very simple. You need to just simply right click and then go to new project. That's it. So once you created a project, so automatically the structure is created. Like you see public objects, you see schema objects, you expand public objects, you see all the folders which we worked till yesterday. So you have seen all these particular schema objects which we are going to work. So now the question here is, if I go to tables, if I come to attributes, if I come to reports metrics, what do you feel? There will be some sample objects present there, or this entire thing will be blank or empty? So what do you think? There will be some sample tables, sample reports, sample objects, or everything will be empty? Okay, so let's try to see here now. I just go to tables. You don't see anything. So once you don't have tables, no point in having attributes, facts, hierarchies, say reports, metrics, filters. Everything is blank over here, right? Correct. So whatever you said is correct. So this is just a project structure we have created, and everything will be blank. Everything will be blank. So now basically, so what we shall do is, in order to have tables here, first thing, right? So what we need to have is, our project should be connected to a database. Means it should physically connect to a data warehouse to get the tables into MicroStrategy. So to do that, basically what we need to do is, first, right, so to pull the tables, so what we require basically is, just try to see. So you have created what? Project source. You have created a project as well. Right, so this particular point is done. So now what is the next step we need to have basically is, so we need to have created database instance. So how to create a database instance? So just try to see basically. So these two steps are done. We'll be seeing the last step, create a DB. So how to do it is, you need to go to administration. Just click on plus symbol, then go to configuration manager. Under configuration manager, you do have a database instance, and in the database instance, in the vacant or open area, just go to right click, go to new, click on database instance. Once you do it, just select this one, provide some name. So you need to just what you need to do is you need to come to configuration manager, database instance, right click, go to new database instance. So once you have here, you need to provide a sample name. So I want to create on a tutorial database instance, whatever database we have seen, that Microsoft Access DB. So I want to create a database instance, and what is the database type? So here it shows all the list of the database types from here, right? So you can just select which database it is. So this is a Microsoft Access database, Access 2007. So I just selected that Access database, and for this particular database, what is that you need to do is, so just look at this one, database connection. This is just the description you have given and what is the type, and this is the database connection where you see a database, all those things you need to select here by clicking on new. It asks you, okay, what is your database connection? So you can provide anything and just come over here and then choose this one, MicroStrategy tutorial data. So to your whatever database I have shown, for that database the DSN is this one, MicroStrategy tutorial data. So just choose that particular option and then click new. But everyone, just try to see, everyone does a mistake here. What they do is, instead of choosing the database DSN, right, already in the second step we have chosen this one, right, demo metadata DSN. So they choose this one. So already we have established this demo MD DSN with our project source. But what we want now is, to our data warehouse we want to have a connection, because we need to create a tables in the project, for which what is that you need to choose? You need to choose MicroStrategy tutorial data. So just choose this MicroStrategy tutorial data, and then for this particular database, what are the credentials? Click on new, then provide some name here. So whatever credentials you want, you can just do it. So to be in sync, I'm giving as administrator, click OK. So once you do it, then what it does is it is going to create up a project new database instance. If you look, there's a statistics one. This is the tutorial database instance. So there is a default one. You haven't created it. It comes by default, and this is a user defined one, or you have created this one. So once you have the database instance, then what you do basically is you just come to your project. So this is your project. So under this, basically, if you look at the tables here, everything was blank here. So what you can do is you can just right click, go to architect, and then click OK. So there is, I mean, some problem in this machine on the architect tool, that yeah, we'll fix it today, so that tomorrow will our class is that one. So till this point, right? So whose responsibility is this? Basically means all this is the responsibility of an admin. So now you have everything set up from your project. What you can do is, in the project, while I am opening the architect, what you can do is you will establish a connection to your database instance. So from your project to database instance, you are going to create a connection, and already you have a project source which has a connection with metadata, So now we are done with all the connections. Now we are good to start with the architect. So all our admin things is done. So these are all the admin things. So once we are done with this, the next part will be, okay, in the architect tool, how we need to bring the tables, and on top of these tables, how to create up attributes, how to create up facts, how to create the hierarchies. So this is what the key thing. So that particular architect stuff will be resuming or will be starting tomorrow. So if you have any questions before that, right? So I'll just take up the questions. If you don't have any, we'll just